This group automatically was able to integrate into the moment I walked in the door. It's an amazing group of individuals. I've been in other groups like this before. Never have I been around a group of individuals that were so welcoming and so willing to give.
Time, my big takeaway is to get into the mastermind group with Tom. I'm really glad I did it.
And also the wisdom in his room is crazy. Felt like, water hose or fire hose, worth of information is flowing.
It's not an expense, it's an investment. There's not one that I go to that I don't come away with multi-million dollar ideas that eventually over time, okay, at this meeting here. And so I just want to encourage you, especially for the young people, Think and Grow Rich says you cannot get where you want to go without the mastermind. All the most successful people in the world have the mastermind, whether it's this one or another one. Masterminds changed my life, and I really believe they'll change yours too.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Good Success Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Culler, and we are Facebook Live again today. So thank you guys for joining on the live stream if you are watching on the live stream. If you're not, then you need to tune in every Friday at 12 noon. We go live on Facebook with an expert interviewer. So today we have...
I think he just said expert interviewer, so I think he was calling himself an
interviewee.
Interviewee. So, yes.
Is that the right
expert? Yes.
Is that the right term?
Facebook Live.
Interviewee,
Tim Knox today in the house.
Yeah. What's going on, Tim?
Not much, guys. How are you?
Oh, fantastic. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast today. You're like a rock star when it comes to anything that's like any medium. So video, podcast, you're an author. I mean, and we'll let you talk about that here in a second, but I'm super excited to have you on the podcast. So we're going to get into it in just a minute, but we're going to talk about a few things first before we come back around to Tim. So Community Go-Giver event is coming up in just a couple of months. Guys, we are selling out fast. 80 seats that are like going to be sold, and we don't have that available right now. We're at about half. So make sure you guys go to communitygogiver.com. Kevin's on the links right now, so he's going to drop that below. You guys sign up now. This is the last chance that you're going to have, because once we hit 80 tickets sold, it's gone. No more available. So, and then the Good Success Mastermind, our May event went fantastic. We were very excited about that. But our August event is coming up August 9, 10, and 11. We're actually going to be having that local to our office, about 10 minutes away. So we were really excited about that. So you guys make sure you go sign up, goodsuccess.com/mastermind. We bring in an elite group of real estate investors into one room, collaborate with each other. The community is growing. I'm excited about where it's at and where it's gone so far and where it is going to be going. I think we have a fantastic group of people that are in our group. So I'm very excited about that. So make sure you guys go check it out, goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Sign up for the August event. And then Tom, let's go back to the Community Go-Giver event, because I normally have you talk about it a little bit. So you want to kind of elaborate on what's going to happen at the actual event?
Yes, absolutely. So we are super excited, super pumped. We are about 6 weeks away right now from our first, what I think is going to turn into a really big event that we're going to do every year. So we're only going to do this event once per year. And, but this is going to be the inaugural first event that we do. And it's really, I believe that everything that we do in our business, in our life, really, but everything that you do, you ought to have a purpose. And the purpose is going to normally revolve around people. So that's why we named it the Community Go-Giver event. And so like we've kind of rebranded this whole thing Community Go-Giver. And I even just had a meeting yesterday with a sergeant in Gary who's going to be doing a lot of demolition this summer on some of the houses. And they actually called the Crackdown program. They're actually trying to go into areas that have houses that need to be torn down, and they're actually trying to help the city clean up the city. So everything that you do in your business, especially in real estate, it affects a person. It affects somebody. So how are you positively impacting, or how are you impacting your communities? And for us, like, community is a very important word. It's one of our core values, but it's something like in our mastermind. We have a mastermind community. You think about your own workforce and our workplace. We're actually going to be having a city hall meeting here in a little bit, and about 3 times a month we get together and we just talk about things as a community. We actually have a potluck today. We're going to celebrate birthdays and have employee of the month and do all that good stuff. But we have a community here. It's like a family. Every single community that we have, we try to build it that way. But how are you affecting your community? So the way you affect a community in the fix and flip is different than how you may affect a community if you own a rental or a turnkey or active turnkey. And that's also a little different than the way Walter Warford does it when he tries to transform communities from a lot of people that are renters into home ownership in low income housing areas. So it's all about how you affect your community. Each day is going to have its own kind of theme. The first day is fix and flip, second day active turnkey and turnkey rentals. We have Mr. Landlord coming for that, also teaching about how to be a better landlord. The day 3, Walter Warford, like I said, talking about low-income housing and how he uses notes and how he uses trusts to try to stay off public record, so people don't know that he owns all these properties. And he actually really doesn't even own the properties. That's really the cool piece about it as well. And he uses tax-free, self-directed IRAs to do a lot of this. He's
got an entire process.
It's really amazing. I mean, he has a 74-page thing that he's going to go over part of that day. And then also each day we actually have a community go-giver spot. So the first day I'm going to talk about my vision for flipping the entire city of Gary and how different aspects of that could work, and just again, like how I feel like it could be. We're right now. Wow,
that actually is happening too.
Right. I mean, it's already starting. There's I think by July they will be breaking ground on some of the very large projects that are coming to Miller Beach and to that area. I'm super excited about that. And so I like I said, I'm only one person. I'm looking for as many other people that want to come and help with this endeavor as they possibly can. I know I can't do it alone. I know this is a God-sized, large, dream of mine. And really, like, I need help to do it. So that's part of the reason why we're doing this Community Go-Giver event. But then day 2, we have Eddie Wilson's going to talk about his CMI, which is how he gets radio stations set up around the whole world in places that you wouldn't think, like Afghanistan and China and Iraq and places that we would think were dangerous, but he's spreading the gospel around the world by doing things like that. And super proud of having a good friend like Eddie that does that. He's going to talk about that mission. And then day 3, we have Veterans Path Up with Ken Lacey, talking about how he gives veterans a hand up instead of a hand out, and teaches them how to become homeowners, and gives deserving veterans, people that have fought for our country and people that deserve at least a second chance if they have kind of come back and not necessarily made the best out of their life. But he really does help these people. And again, like, it's a way he's affecting his community, and that it fits so perfect in our mission. And then each day we're going to go out and look at a property. So the first day we're going to go look at a fix and flip. The second day we're going to look at a turnkey, active turnkey. The third day we're going to go look at low income housing. And then we have networking that's going to go on each night as well. So it's going to be a great event. Some of my lenders are going to be there. Some of my turnkey buyers are going to be there. So if this is for the local people as well, trust me, the local people are going to want to be there, because you're going to be able to meet my national network. And the national network, I want you to come and see me, absolutely. But I also do want to be able to hook you up with some of my own local wholesalers and my own local contractors maybe that want to participate. I'm not being selfish about that at all. Like, this is not just for us and our company. It is for my local network and the national network, and try to like hook you guys together. So like I said, I'm super excited about it. I think I really believe that if you don't sign up, you don't come, you're going to be missing out.
Yeah, absolutely. CommunityGoGiver.com. It'll be linked below. So guys, make sure you go sign up today. Not right now because you're on the live stream, but after this, make sure you go and check that out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So Tim.
Hey guys.
So let me explain something real quick. So Tim is definitely one of the most intelligent people you'll ever meet. Like he's an author. And he's
This Tim.
This guy right here.
This guy right
It's
here.
the glasses.
The glasses make you look intelligent. Definitely.
It's the background. What is that background, Tim? You're gonna have to tell me what that background is.
What's that? The background?
The background.
What is that?
It's actually just a really cool screensaver on my
Okay. I was like, is that like some exotic thing he's got, like from some exotic country or from some other planet or something? Gotcha. Okay. See, from us, I couldn't tell that it was.
He's changing it now. You made it. You hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to freak you out. How does that look?
there it is. So we
Now
actually
it
know
looks
Tim.
like-
So we actually know Tim. I don't know how you know him, but I know him through Forrest Bryant with
Yes, Forrest
High Speed Alliance. I actually help him run the AV stuff. Like we're a 1-2 punch. So and Tom's had to step in on that a couple times with us. But
I ran live audio for a 10,000 seat auditorium for about 10 years with a 56-piece orchestra, and we did all analog. We didn't do digital, so it was we had a lot of mixing to do.
Yeah, so he helped us. He helped me and Tim out with that because there was a point where we got stuck with something. But me and Tim, we're a 1-2 punch when it comes to it. But so Tim, go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, what you do. I know you got a lot that you do, a lot that goes on. So maybe plug your YouTube channels and anything else that you're like venturing into now, and then talk about your past experience, how you got to where you're at right now.
Sure. You know what? After being called the most intelligent guy you know, where do you go from there? Right?
Yeah.
I'm me and Kevin are kind of in this room thinking to ourselves, like, we're kind of insulted, I think, Josh.
Well, I apologize.
I think Josh needs
Tim's got a lot of pressure on his right now.
You got some big shoulders to fill, Tim.
Yes.
Whew,
I mean,
man.
Kevin has an IQ of like 160, so I mean.
You know what? I can't even spell IQ, so I can see immediately. No, I am a serial entrepreneur. I spent the first 45 years of my life building a variety of businesses. I had a software company for many years, was in the internet marketing business. I was in the retail industry, actually retired about 4 years ago because I just wanted to write books. And I ended up not just writing books, but doing a lot of coaching. And that's actually how I met Forrest, was I was going to help him with a book project. And we just became friends. And because my background had been in doing a lot of events, I ended up running his events for him. And that's how I met Tom and Josh. But my most recent venture, for some strange reason, about 4 or 5 months ago, I decided to get into the selling side of real estate. I had always kind of dabbled. My daughter and I did a lot of fix and flips. We do a lot of investing. But she got her real estate license 4 years ago because she got really tired of writing commission checks. Mm-hmm. And so I was getting a little tired of the writing business. And she said, well, Dad, come do the real estate thing with me. And I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm looking for another business venture. And what better to sell than real estate? The profit margins, if you do it right, are great. The inventory is good. And so I got my license. I am kind of testing the waters. I went to work with her at Keller Williams, and it's an education, but I approach things a little differently. I don't want to just be a real estate agent. I'm building a real estate business. And so that whole mindset and my 30 years of entrepreneurship and my marketing experience, I'm kind of bringing that to this business. Because I've noticed a lot of realtors, they stick out a sign and they put it in the MLS and they let it go. Mm-hmm. And that's just not my model. So I've been in about 6 weeks now. I've done 3 contracts. I've got 3 listings and 2 more I think are going to come next week. So I've kind of hit the ground running. It's a lot of fun, but boy, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Real estate's not for people that don't want to work.
It's not the faint of heart. Yeah.
You know what? What's amazing is the amount of time that I do really just nurturing the relationships, not just doing the real estate. Mm-hmm. But I know that'll pay off down the road. But yeah, it's very time consuming right now.
Yeah.
So what kind of real estate are you trying, like, you said you're trying to build a business, but what kind of like niche are you kind of going after? Are you just going after the retail market? Are you trying to go after investors? Are you trying to go after commercial? Like normally people end up niching into a couple things that really like they stick with. Yeah.
You know what I've done is, as you're prone to do, is I've started picking low-hanging fruit right out of the gate. So 2 of my deals were with investors. 2 of them were with buyers who enlisted me to help them find homes. And then the 3 listings, of course, are just, residential listings. So I'm kind of in a learning pattern where I'm picking fruit from this tree and this tree and this tree. I think eventually I really like working the investment side. I'm not crazy about, driving around looking at 150 houses with people. The listings are very competitive, but we have a really enforced, as we'll tell you, because I'm here where he is, we have a pretty thriving investment community here. So I eventually see myself going more toward that side of things than just, doing what I guess a stereotypical agent would be. I don't want to hold open houses. I don't want to, beat the bushes for buyers and sellers. I really want to focus more on the investment side of things. It's like I told someone the other day, I really want to learn everything though. I have no desire to spend the next 10 years as a real estate agent, but I want to know how does that work? And what do I need to do and that sort of thing. And eventually I won't do that anymore. But right now, I just want to learn everything I can, regardless of whatever niche I'm going to end up in.
Yeah. So I had a question that I had sent you that kind of in the middle of what we're actually talking about, but I'm going to move that back up to right now. So explain to me what you're doing differently when it comes to actually building a business around your realtor business. Like what are you doing differently that other people aren't doing? I know you went into it a little bit, but
honestly, it's just a mindset, because you have people that are getting into this business that their goal is to be a real estate agent. And a lot of them are joining companies that have I call it the Henry Ford model. They hire you basically to be a buyer's agent. They feed you leads. They kind of nurture you. And then they take, the lion's share of your money. But that's how they learn. With me, because I know more, from a business standpoint, really, than anything. The business processes, the marketing, all of the stuff that I did in my businesses, I'm kind of bringing to this. So, I do a lot of things that are proactive. I do a lot of prospecting. I get in the car and I ride up and down the road and I find deals. And, but again, I understand that a lot of people need that hand holding initially. I'm just not in a position where I need that. So that has allowed me to kind of move ahead of the pack a little bit and focus on it more as a business. I think a lot of new agents are just focusing on getting that next customer, be it a next buyer or a next listing. My vision is much further down the road. I'm looking at not just one at a time, but how to expand and bring in more business than a onesie twosie. If I'm going to get, 2 or 3 listings a year, I might as well just go back into retirement and grow my beard, So I think that's the big thing is the mentality. I am approaching this as a business where my product just happens to be real estate, and all the other stuff that I've learned over the years, whether I was selling software or websites or books or guns, it's the same, And so I think that's what I'm doing different is I'm approaching it more from a business strategic standpoint than just a onesie Tuesday, a client-based business, if you will.
So are you trying to scale this business up? What's your end goal when it comes to this? I know that you said you want to build the business. Is that just something that you enjoy doing, or you actually have a goal that you want to hit?
The most fun I have as an entrepreneur is starting from a blank slate and creating something of value. That's what I did with my software company. In the beginning, it was just me at a desk in a corner of a bedroom, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And eventually I grew that to a sizable business. We were doing multiple 7 figures. And so I love the startup part of it. When I was in retail, my favorite part of retail was walking into a vanilla box with just 4 walls and a floor and creating a store. And so that's the approach that I'm taking to real estate. I do want to build a business, be it where, whether I build a team, which I can see that happening. The nice thing about real estate is there's so many little branches that you can bring under one umbrella, whether it is, whether you're agenting yourself or you're building a team or you're doing property management or you're doing investments. And that's kind of where I see this going. In 5 years, I envision a business that really encompasses a lot of different facets of real estate. And, I'll be the guy sitting at the top, making sure everything runs smoothly and that sort of, that's my end goal. You know, it's not to be a real estate agent for the rest of my life. It is to build this real estate business that really encompasses all the little niches that are under it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So in your experience with building businesses, what are some things that you've come across that, let's start with the do's, because I'm going to ask for do's and don'ts. Like, what are some of the biggest things that you've come across that you're like, now I'm in this actual venture to build a real estate business and I've built these other businesses. What are things that you've come across that are absolutely 100% do's that are across any business platform? Doesn't matter if it's real estate, doesn't matter if it's being an author or whatever it is.
You know, you've got to have a plan. You know, and that's one thing I've seen this so many times. People will start a venture regardless of what it is, and it's kind of by the seat of their pants. And I see this in real estate all the time. I mean, Tom and I, we've talked about the HGTV phenomena. Everybody thinks they can flip houses now and make a ton of money, or, you know, they think they can do this or that, and they don't really map it out. You know, that's one thing. Before I set a single toe in the real estate business, I worked out a business plan and I did my research. And, you know, I really knew by the time I went and got my license, I knew exactly what my path was going to be. And I think that's where so many people get lost, is they don't have that blueprint or that roadmap, if you will. You know, they just kind of, they'll jump out there and go, well, you know what, I'm going to go into real estate. I'm going to go get my license. I'm going to hook up with a broker. I'm going to bug the crap out of my friends and family, and I'm going to list their houses. And, you know, that's kind of flying by the seat of your pants. So I think the biggest do with me is to create a plan. You know, I don't want to step out until I know where I'm going to be in 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, or what have you.
Right.
And so I'm very big on business planning, strategic planning, marketing planning, all of that stuff that, you know, if you do that, you know where the bumps in the road are going to be, and you can figure out how to avoid them or go around them. And that is the biggest mistake I see a lot of new entrepreneurs making, not just in real estate, but in every other business. They just don't have a plan. You know, if they can do it, I can do it mentality.
Yeah. And a big thing too that I find a lot of people like get themselves stuck into is, and this is going to come, there's going to be a question out of this, that people want to create a plan, but they spend way too much time on that. Yeah. And then you hear these influencers, you know, these self-help influencers telling people, don't just do it. Just go out and do what you want to do and make it happen, make things happen. So then they skip the whole part of planning it. So you got that group of people, but then you got the group of people that are stuck in the planning stages and they never go anywhere. Like, what stages do you move on?
What? That is a really great point, because I knew a guy that worked on a business plan literally for about 12 years and never pulled the trigger on the business. And he would always say, well, the plan's not perfect. And so I think that's the key. You know, no business plan is ever going to be perfect, because really a business plan is kind of a crystal ball with knowledge. You know, you've got knowledge that you think will drive you along, but you're also kind of predicting things. So I'm a big fan of jumping out there, but it's jumping out there prepared.
Calculating risk.
No, I mean, you know, you can literally beat a business plan to death. It's never going to be perfect. Just get it in a form where, you know, you've got your bases covered, and then you step out there. But, you know, stepping out there unprepared, I mean, it's like walking in front of a bus, you know? And so, but there is a happy medium, Josh. You're right. You know, you can't plan forever, or then you never start.
Right. Yeah. I think a really good outline for any kind of preparation. I'm glad you used the word preparation, because I think that a lot of times we fail to prep. So we prep to fail, basically. And you know, so like you said, you don't need this like 600 point plan on how you're going to do your business. And I think a lot of times people just don't have an easy, I don't know. It's almost like they need a template to figure out, like, this is what our plan is going to be. I think EOS is a great plan. Don't get me wrong. So EOS has like a 2-page, you know, business plan that you can easily create. But really, like, if you want to make it boil down and simple, you can just boil it down to PREP, P-R-E-P. So the very first P is purpose, which I think you have to know why you're going to do it. If you don't know why you're going to do it, then don't do it. Like, figure out why you want to do something first. So what's your purpose? Number 2 is our roles and responsibilities, like who's going to do what. E is exhortation or encouragement or leadership, or all those things kind of go hand in hand. You have to have a structure of some kind. You have to have some kind of financial backing, and that's your exhortation, which is like going to convince somebody to do something, is how does the money flow? And then how are you actually going to, like, what are you really passionate about? Like what pieces, how do you fit yourself into this plan and put yourself into your core genius as much as you possibly can, so that way you can elevate yourself and grow that company as it goes. So I think even like with a project, we have what we call a rehab prep process, and it's the exact same thing, but we just take a rehab and we say, what's the purpose? Is this going to be a turnkey? Is this going to be an active turnkey? Is this going to be a retail, high-end retail, low-end retail, custom retail? That's the purpose. You know, like, this is what we want at the end of the day. This is why we're doing this. Right. Number 2, like what are the roles and responsibilities? Like, who's going to do what? Who's responsible for what? Number 3, exhortation, like, what's the payment process going to look like? How are we going to pay the contractors? How are we going to make sure that we document everything and put it on paper for the contractor agreement? And then, you know, growth and you know, passion. Who's going to do what? I mean, like, how do I put myself in this right situation and right seat in this situation to make it happen? So once you guys got that, really, that's it. Like you said, like, you can jump after you figured those things out. You can jump into something and make it work.
Yeah, I think the key thing that Tim said too was that it doesn't have to be perfect, because that guy spent 12 years on his plan. And that so I mean, you know when it's like, okay, this is never going to happen. You know, you just got to make it happen. Well,
you know what is really sad, for about 10 years I worked with a local nonprofit here, and I was their business startup coach. And part of my duties was reviewing business plans of people coming in looking for help starting a business. And you know what? The best business plans are maybe a half dozen pages. You don't have to write War and Peace. And the plans that were always, 100, 200 pages were those plans that it's what I call packing peanuts. Mm-hmm. They had this much in the box. The box was this big, so they were filling it with packing peanuts, trying to justify the idea and trying to convince themselves that it was a good business. But there's got to be a happy medium. We used to call them professional planners, because their business was working on their business plan and they never got any further.
So obviously that's a don't spend 12 years on a business.
That's a big don't.
But another don't in your experience when it comes to building a business, something that it's just all the way across the board, no matter what business you have. What do you have?
Well, we talked about it a minute ago. Don't jump out there unprepared. When you're thinking about starting a business, and Tom hit the nail right on the head, you have to look at, okay, what is my product or service? What is the need in the marketplace for my product or service? Who in the marketplace needs it? Who's willing to give me money for it? What's the competition? There's so many questions you have to ask and answer before you're fully prepared to jump out there. And again, I see that a lot. Folks will think about, okay, I like this product or service. I know other people will too. I'm going to jump out there and I know that I'll be, in the black within a month. And I think that goes back to what I think is the number one reason that businesses and real estate agents fail, is that lack of preparedness. They jump out there and they immediately think the world is going to beat a path to their door. Everybody who wants, everybody's going to want one of these, Very rarely does it work that way. So I think the biggest one is they just don't prepare for the inevitable. And a lot of times, Josh, they don't ask the questions because they don't want to come up with the answers. I talked about when I was doing my business coaching, I was the best devil's advocate on the planet, and they hated me because I would do my best to poke holes in their idea. Yeah. And, but I told them, I said, if I can poke holes in it, the market will poke holes in it. So I think the lack of preparedness is the number one reason. And the other one, a lot of businesses fail because they run out of money. But again, that goes back to planning. They did not plan how much money they would need, how long it would take them to reach profitability. I think, in my opinion, succeeding in business is all about doing the homework up front. so you know what's coming and you know how to handle it.
Got it. Perfect. So those are some do's and don'ts, guys. Make sure you take notes on that.
Yeah, but really, like I think what you're saying too is you have to focus on the customer. Like what again, like kind of like what we started with, focusing on what impact are you really having, and like what most people don't understand is they just think a dollar amount is what I'm worth. Like so,
Right.
let's say it's $50 an hour. So they think they're worth $50 an hour. What they don't realize is the true value that they have and bring to the marketplace is the difference between what value you're actually providing versus how much you're taking in price. Right. So if you're only worth $25 an hour and you're getting paid 50, well, you're not only you don't have any value, you're literally ripping somebody off. And I believe there's only two ways to make money, and it's one, either rip people off or add value. It very, very rarely is like the exact same value for the exact same amount of money. And you want to be the person though that's getting paid 50 or $100 an hour and you're worth $500 an hour. Like that's really what your margin is, and that's what your value really is in the marketplace.
Yeah. And you've got to remember, if you provide a service and these other people are providing the exact same service, your value is the difference. You know, what's the difference between you and the other guys? That really is the value, because if everyone shares the same value, there's really no one that's going to stand out. And Tom, you make a great point. Regardless of the business, you have to start with the customer that you're serving. You know, what can you do to make the lives of those customers better? And if you can't answer that, then you shouldn't sell that product, in my opinion.
It's not about making money. I mean, that's not a good reason to start a business.
Not at all.
Never.
All right, perfect. That was a little bit of a value add for you. So switching tracks a little bit, Tim.
Sure.
When I asked you some things that you felt comfortable with talking about on the actual podcast, one of the things you mentioned was actually starting over at a little bit of an older age. You gave a number. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know for 57. Is that what it was? Okay, so
it looks like the other way around, but it's
something. We'll get it right. But we actually had a guy on our podcast about a week ago. I think it was last week, Mike Andrade, and he had to start over at the age of, I think it was either 30, 31, 32. He actually had to file bankruptcy. He was deep into like his business, and then just lost everything and had to completely restart himself. And now he's just like, one of the best podcasts we have ever done was with him and where he's at today. So he had to start over, but it was in his 30s, because one of the guys, one of his mentors that he talked to said, man, you're so young. You have so much time to start over. Like, why aren't you doing it? And so, but when it comes to a little bit of an older age, what do you got to do to start over?
Let me tell you something. I have boots that are 30 years old, okay? Come on, guys. Here, gosh, these are older than you.
Those are nice, man.
30 years old. Don't make me slap you. No. Well, no, I am 57. And, for me to come out and start a new business venture, it literally is like starting over. And that's one thing I had to ask myself is, okay, at this, I'm not old. I'm in really good shape. I'm an athlete. I have the beautiful silver hair. But, I had my health. I had my, the passion. I had the time. I had the energy. But, what I had to do, honest to God, was sit down and take an inventory of all of them. Okay, I'm 57. How hard do I want to work? How many hours a day do I want to work? And being the idiot that I am, I started a real estate business, which, Jesus, I'll sleep in 3 or 4 months, I guess. I don't know. But that, I had to ask myself all those questions. Are you really willing and able to do this? And it wasn't something I had to do. I had that benefit where I could just continue, sitting on my backside. My publishing business was going fine. Honestly, I was bored out of my mind though. And that's a big thing with me. I have the attention span of a gnat. And, my average business venture can last 2 to 4 years, and then I'm selling that and doing something else. So that was a big thing with me. But, I also had to sit down with my better half, with my wife, and say, look, here's what I'm thinking. here's what's going to be required in the way of investment and time and blood and sweat. Is it okay with you? You know, do you buy into this? And I got to tell you, boys, if she didn't buy into it, I wouldn't be doing it. Happy wife, happy life, right? Yeah. But, you know, she said, and I'll never forget it, because she said, you know, you're only happy, or you're happiest when you are working your butt off. And I'm like, no, that's true.
So what's your thought on that? Is that like something that's just in your blood? Because I know this guy sitting right next to me is the same way. Like, he is happy when he's not, I'm not going to use the word busy, when he's productive. Like, that's there's two differences in my mind. But I mean, same thing with me. I love like getting things done, getting them accomplished. But then you look at other people and they're just, you know, clock out at 5 and I'm done for the day. Like, I'm going home, playing video games, watching movies. And so,
well, you know, I don't wear a watch, because to me, time is relative. I mean, if I have appointments, that's all on my phone. Yeah. But otherwise, I don't care what time it is, because it doesn't matter. You know, I am not one to sit around and watch TV. I don't take vacations. I am happiest when my mind is challenged and I'm doing productive things. That is when I'm happiest. You know, I get so bored. I mean, it just, and my wife will tell you, you don't want to be around me when I'm bored, because I'm grumpy. Yeah. You know, I'm just not. So I think that was a big part of it, though. But, you know, when you're starting over, you know, like as we were talking about, that's one thing you've got to look at is time. Because, you know, I'm 57, you know, with any luck, I might have, my mom just died at 94. I might have a couple of decades left. Do I want to spend the next 10, 20 years, you know, cranking out a real estate business? So, you know, this is not for everybody. Tom, you remember the good old days when people would work and retire at like 60 or 65 and they get a nice watch and go home and die? Remember those?
I hear stories about that. So I don't know. I mean,
no, it's just not the way it is. So
yeah, and it's changing, I think, faster and faster every single year, where that's not really becoming the real road to success. Right. The real road to success is finding something that you're really, or finding a person or a group of people that you believe you can help, and then investing into them as much as you possibly can. And now with the way the internet has completely changed the way we can do everything in our lives, it's really amazing how fast of an impact you can have now if you really are willing to put in the work.
And I think that's the key thing is impact. I mean, why else would you do it? You know, if you are not having an impact, of course, on yourself, on your family, but also on those you serve, why bother? Just sit on your front porch and watch the world go by, and let folks like us, you know, get out there and try to make things better and have that positive impact.
Yeah. So what's your view, kind of sticking on this a little bit, what's your view on leaving a legacy? I'm kind of interested in what your thoughts are with that.
You know what? Forrest and I talk about this all the time. We're actually working on some things together on legacy. You know, with me, legacy is so much more than just financial. You know, because I come from, I mean, dirt poor, boys. I was the first one in my family to ever even graduate high school. Wow. You know, and there was no financial legacy, but there was a legacy of love, and there was a legacy of, you know, values and hard work. So to me, I think we all leave legacies. Unfortunately, some of the legacies are bad or negative. I had an abusive alcoholic father, and his legacy, you could say, was really bad, but it was also really good because it taught me how to be a good dad. You know, my parenting comes from a place where I do everything he didn't. And geez, I'm a great father. So I think that's important to note is legacy is not just money. You know, legacy is morals, values, spirituality, emotions, especially emotions, because everybody carries so much baggage nowadays. But I think you have to think about legacy, because if you are just operating in the here and now, you know, when you're gone, everybody's going to look around and go, who was that guy? You know, your kids are going to look around and go, I miss, what was his name? You know, so there are different legacies. I think it's very important that you focus not just on the monetarily side. There's a great mini series out now called Trust, which deals with the J. Paul Getty kidnapping. Remember, Josh, you weren't even born then, but back in the 70s, J.P. Getty was the richest man on the planet, Getty Oil. His grandson was kidnapped. And initially, Getty refused to pay the ransom. And if you trace the lineage of that family from Getty, money ruined everybody in that line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they all were drug addicts, alcoholics, emotional problems. The money did nothing to save those folks. And so that's just very interesting to me how legacy can be either positive or negative. And a lot of people think, okay, I'm leaving this fortune to my kids. Well, if your kids don't remember you ever hugging them, you haven't left a legacy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry,
you
I
have
didn't mean to get
left a
off my
legacy.
soapbox.
I think that's a good point.
Bad legacy.
I think that's a good point. You know, we talk about legacy a lot, but we don't really realize we are going to leave a legacy one way or another. So it's like you said, they are leaving a legacy, but it's probably not the legacy that they want to have.
Exactly.
A lot of times, you know, money does ruin people because they're just focused on the money instead of what they're going to do with it to positively impact other people.
Right.
And, you know, Mike kind of said that too, like when we were doing the podcast with him, was it's a selfishness creeps in. And when it's all about me, that's when we go into depression. That's when we do things we shouldn't do. And that, you know, but when we're focusing on others and how it really impacts other people, it changes how you do things and changes what you do.
Absolutely. So we're going to have to start wrapping this up here in just a second, Tim, but we got a couple of quick questions here for you. So let's just say you're my age. I'm 24.
Oh, man.
What do you
I don't remember 24.
Okay, so you remember it. What do you wish that you knew that you know now that you wish you knew when you were my age? So somebody that's maybe just starting to get into business and they're a lot younger, something you know now that you wish you knew back then.
You know what? When I was 24, I did a lot of things that I don't do now. Because when I was 24, I was impetuous. I thought I knew everything. I thought I could take on the world. I remember and this is a good example, my first business when I was, I think I was about 24, 25. I had a really good job. And I had been doing graphic arts on the side. That was my talent. And I decided, you know what? I'm just going to quit this job cold turkey. And I'm going to do this graphics art business. So I did. I quit. I opened my business and I waited for customers to come. And it took me about 2 days to realize that I didn't know what I didn't know. You know, I thought I knew everything, but I knew nothing about starting a business. I had read no books. I had done no education. I just figured, hey, I'm so smart, I can do any damn thing I want. And so this goes back to the preparedness, Tom. That's why I preach this so heavily now. And so what I did was I went crawling back to my boss, who was a really nice guy, and he gave me my job back. And I became a student of business. I started reading every book that I could get my hands on, every magazine, and I literally became a sponge. And this was back before the internet, before any of that stuff. Remember books, Tom? Remember books?
I still read books.
Yeah. And so I spent...
Yeah, you're in audiobooks now.
I'll do both. But almost every day I listen to audiobooks and I read books. So.
Yeah. Well, I literally spent about 2 years just absorbing everything. And so when the time came back around to think about starting my own business, I was a lot better prepared. I knew what I was doing. I knew about marketing. I knew about customer service. You know, I knew about accounting, all the little things. And I had also saved up enough money to run me for about 6 months, which I didn't do before. I knew in my heart that I was going to quit that job and the customers would just come out of the woodwork and all would be well. Didn't work that way.
Yeah, I see this happen every single week. It's just amazing to me that what really frustrates me is I feel like sometimes they're already in a culture that is already teaching them all of these business practices that you're saying, like have the purpose, have your vision, have your 10-year goals and 3-year goals and 1-year goals and quarterly goals and weekly goals, and have a structure, have the financial component, have, lenders available, have whatever, all these other things that you need. I mean, I didn't really venture out into my own business. I had a side business, and when I was 19 years old, I started a side business, but never decided to be completely on my own until 2006, after I'd already been doing that and already knew like a lot of business, already had like books that I had been running, and already had paid taxes as a subcontractor, and already had done all these things, and just kind of blew it up from there. But you cannot just expect to go out when you're 19, 20, 25 years old and expect that it's just going to come to you, because it's not.
Yeah.
So what's one of the most influential, you talked about books, what's one of the most influential, maybe pieces of content, maybe it was a book that really helped you along when it came to, building business at that age?
You're probably going to shake your head because this is what everybody says. But the very first book on motivation that I ever read was Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
And that book to me it really opened my eyes, because it was all new. Like I said, coming from my background of white trash poverty, I'd never known anyone who was successful. I had never gotten a motivational speech in my life. And so picking that book up, and I still reread that book. I mean, every year or two now, I still go back and reread it. But I became just a sponge. I bet you I've got 10,000 books in this house, and I never get rid of books. I always go back and I'll reread them. There's another great book called The Monk and the Riddle. And it was written by, oh gosh, I can't remember the guy's name. He was one of the early Silicon Valley success stories in VC. And it's the true story of him being pitched a business idea about an online funeral home. And it is just the best business book on the planet, because it really makes you, the slogan was, "We put the fun back in funerals." Can you But it was a
like a good venture.
Yeah, it was a great book, because he broke down this guy's business and made him examine every teeny tiny aspect of it. And it's a very small book, but one of the best. And those are my favorites. The old classics, man. I know Bob Berg, The Go-Giver. One of the best books ever written. And so. The nice thing is there's just so many books out there now, but in my mind, the classics are the ones you keep going back to over and over.
Yeah, we're about to actually, after a podcast, we're going to go right into a city hall meeting and talk about the Go-Giver book. So the entire company's reading it. So awesome. So we got one more question for you, because we got to wrap this up real quick. So you got to leave one thing with our audience, something that maybe it's a quote, maybe it's a piece of advice, a thought that you have that you think that will impact everybody that's in our audience listening right now.
Always buy cowboy boots that will last 30 years.
There it is.
Now, that is so full of nuggets of wisdom if you just...
Well, perfect. So that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. Tim, thanks for being on, man. We're going to have you back soon.
Anytime. I enjoyed it.
You, Tim.
Yes.
How would we get a hold of you?
Yes.
You can, timknox.com is one way. I'm on Facebook. If you're interested in publishing, I've got a YouTube channel that is very helpful on that. And everything else is, just look for my signs. They're going to be in every yard very soon.
What's the YouTube channel called?
The YouTube channel is, just go to YouTube and search for Tim Knox, and it'll pop up. And I do, all of my stuff is right there. I've got a lot of entrepreneurial videos, a lot of coaching videos, but then I've got a lot of instructional stuff from the how to write books side, because that's what I did for so long. And I'm starting a real estate channel. There's some tours up there already.
Thank you.
Sweet. And then Kevin will have all that linked below. I know I've been on Tim's channel, watched some of his videos too. We're definitely going to be having a chat with Tim pretty soon about publishing, because we're going to be coming out with a couple books. So
awesome.
Tim, we appreciate you being on, man. We look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you guys. Anytime.
Yes, sir. So communitygogiver.com, guys. Sign up for the Community Go-Giver event coming up in July 25, 26, 27. Tickets are going to sell out very soon, so make sure you do that. Good Success Mastermind coming up August 9, 10, and 11. Go to goodsuccess.com/mastermind. Kevin's linking everything below, everything for that, and then also all of Tim's links as well. So that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for listening in. And if you are on Facebook Live, thank you guys for watching. And remember, whether you're looking to survive, thrive, or matter, our goal is to provide the tools to reach your vision. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.